This is AV Week, episode number 10 for October 14th, 2011. Oh, Canada.
Ready.
AV Week.
Performing scan.
Week.
Online.
This is AV Week. AV Week. It's time for AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of news and information. My name is Tim Albright, your host. With us this week is George Tucker. George is the engineering coordinator for World Stage. Hello, George.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Also with us is Matt Scott, our Canadian neighbor to the north. He is from Omega Audio Video. He's our international flair.
Hello, all my friends.
And we have a couple of newbies this week. Adrian Boyd. Adrian is from Vector Sketch from my hometown in St. Louis. Hey, Adrian.
Hey, how are you?
Good. And also with us, we are pleased to announce the place where I stole this name of this podcast from InfoComm International. Cheryl Regan is the Director of Member Services. Hey, Cheryl.
Hi there.
Cheryl, the reason you're on is because, yes, I borrowed this wonderful name of this podcast from you guys, because this coming up week is indeed the actual official calendar AV Week. Tell us kind of in brief what exactly is AV Week, the celebration.
Okay, happy to. I'm probably the biggest champion for AV Week here at InfoComm. I've been here since '06 when we launched the first AV Week celebration. It was an idea brought to us by a member in Arkansas with a university, the University of Arkansas for Medical Services. It's AV Week. We put the spotlight on the AV industry. The idea is to talk to people about the industry who don't know who we are. We're really great at talking amongst ourselves, but I've never been in an industry where people are so passionate about what they do, and we do so many cool things that we have stories to tell outside of our industry to our families, to our communities, to our customers, to potential workers in the industry. So it's not really that complicated, although it's not one celebration. It can be all over the world, and more it is. So I will be happy to talk about some of the cool ways people celebrate AV Week around the world.
Well, do that. How exactly? No, not just people here, but how are people doing? How are people celebrating AV Week and getting attention to the industry? Yeah,
all different ways. There's something for everyone. Westminster College outside of Pittsburgh celebrates AV Week every day of the week. So they will put together with faculty and students events on how to take advantage of the technology on their campus. They will have an e-cycling drive one day. They have a program, a budget. They start planning in the summer, and they celebrate something every day. Universities like to celebrate because they get a chance to showcase their services for the school. And increasingly, they're really cool. And so they create educational opportunities for the users of the technology. Manufacturers can bring in students to tour their factories and try to bring people in. Crestron's been great. They're doing more of that this year. Draper is celebrating this year, and they're bringing in students in the Newcastle area in Indiana to come and hear about, see their factory, tour, and learn about the industry. Biamp, Listen, all these companies are doing great things to showcase what they do. They have a product to show, so that helps.
Oh, yeah.
But they also have a factory or a venue to entertain groups of students. But we've seen these things morph into internship programs, into hiring people to work in the industry, creating visibility. It's also a great chance to, I saw a great article on Crestron in the local paper. They're hiring, and in this down economy, that's a really good news story. So they got a great feature story on their business in the paper. These are the kind of things we like to see in their outcrops of AV Week, because we do such great things, but a lot of people don't know about it.
Yeah.
So that's really the whole purpose of it, to put the spotlight on the industry, the careers, the opportunities, and the value we bring to communication, whether it's in business, government, education, entertainment, and on and on.
Very good. Is there anything you guys want to ask Cheryl? That now that we have her on the phone, we have InfoComm's undivided attention. None of you?
Out of question.
Seriously, I have never known you guys not to have something to say.
We're in awe
All right.
of the power that is InfoComm.
Well, Cheryl, thank you very much.
All right. Well, we have a website. It's avweek.org, and we have a toolkit. It's really a PDF with 20 ideas on how you can celebrate AV Week. It's a little late since next week is upon us already. AV Week is the week of the 16th of October. I didn't talk to you about what InfoComm is doing. We're practicing what we preach. We're getting on the road, and we're going to San Diego, actually, for a member roundtable to talk to our industry. But the next day we follow that with an outreach event. It's a day-long program for end users of technology. So we're going to bring in individuals to talk about how they use AV, whether it's on their campus or elsewhere. We have outside presenters on digital signage and emergency communications.
And where is that? That's in San Diego?
San Diego.
Okay.
San Diego. We encourage people to come if they're listening in that area of the viewership here, listenership. And we are also doing an electronic recycling drive. So we
excellent.
found a company locally that will dismantle and recycle the plastic and other parts of anything that plugs in. So we try to celebrate internal too. We've got like a trivia quiz. You can traverse our website and learn about the industry and be rewarded for that. So we've got prizes for employees to participate as well in AV Week.
Just out of curiosity, since you've been there since the beginning of AV Week, how did you come up with the second or third week of October?
We tried to space it away from our major trade show at the time,
which was InfoComm.
Our
but you
June
guys just
show.
had 12,000 people in the Middle East.
I know we have
It's
I
huge.
think almost 10 shows, and they're all growing. So it's hard to find a slot on the calendar when we're not busy, but we thought it was a good opportunity. We knew it worked for universities in a good way, and they're the ones that came up with the idea. So it was a bit random, but the calendar is busy year-round, so it's never a good time. And I always like to say that do something during AV Week, but if you can't get it together for AV Week, you should be doing something year-round to get involved in the community. One last thing that's the most obvious is you can get a proclamation issued. I know Listen got the governor of Utah to sign a proclamation declaring it AV Week in the state. And what that does is it gives you a photo opportunity with the governor, and they know who you are, and it begins the conversation and the awareness for the role of the AV industry. So there are intangible benefits and others that manifest themselves in bringing people into the industry.
Well, and this kind of goes back to something that we've talked about, and Dawn Mead, one of the people that's been on this more than once, and she's a part of Gary Kay's group. She's been talking about this for quite a long time about, kind of proselytizing, the industry and going out and evangelizing. And this is just another great way to do that.
Yep, she has been on board with AV Week for years as well.
Yeah, Dawn's great.
Yeah. Everyone who does participate comes back because they see the benefit. It creates such good morale in your company and in your community. People do it. It's definitely worth the investment of time. And the best way to see it are check out our website afterwards. We will post all the pictures of the events, and you'll just see all the goodwill that's created. And it's just great. I just wish more people would participate, but we certainly give everybody the opportunity, and we will keep this going.
Right, and that website is avweek.org. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Cheryl.
Thank you very much.
All right, have a good day.
All right, signing off.
All
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao. Actually, it is a really good program, and the
Oh,
idea
now
kit
you
that
talk.
mentioned, well, come on. There's not much- Wait, you said, do I have any questions? I have
Oh,
no questions.
okay.
And a commentary. Not
Go
to split the
ahead,
infinitives
George.
here,
Yes.
but it is a great package. When we did it for Crestron the first time, it was a really good help, and it gave us a nice foundation to base stuff off of.
Now you talk. All right. Speaking of Crestron, that was a nice segue. They have killed something. Not a squirrel or anything like that. Huh?
Frown.
Me too, Matt. Here's what it
Khan
is.
said face.
Well, yeah, because All right, what they killed before I get somebody in trouble. Crestron has killed the 7-year-old Adagio system. According to their press release today, we're announcing the discontinuation, i.e. killing, of the AMS and AMS AIP. We'll continue to support any installed systems and fulfill new orders while supplies last. So, if you're a fan of the Adagio system, go out and get one while supplies last.
If you can afford it.
Well, yeah, I can afford it, but it's a nice system, though. I mean,
It is a great system.
my question to you guys is, first of all, why did they kill it? I mean, I understand, again, back to the press release, it says their Sonics and their Precise stuff is kind of is their next generation. But this sucker was a solid piece of audio gear, was it not?
It was a great piece of audio gear. I think what it comes down to is just them wanting to diversify their market a little bit more. When we look at what they're going forward with, I mean, Adagio kind of fit really good in the consumer part of their industry, and with their latest product line, it entrenches them a little bit more. I mean, I've never put one in a commercial environment, but I've seen tons of them go into the residential, installations without a problem.
Yeah, I mean, the system is really nicely placed, but they're also then competing with themselves. You've got the Prodigy line, right? And then you've got the Prodigy line that can actually expand out to almost any of the other lines now with a little interface that they sell. And they're sort of competing against themselves. I mean, the Prodigy line has the ADMS on it, which is that media server system. It's got its own amps. It's got a bunch of Blu-ray player systems that it is made available for it. You're sort of saying, which one am I going for? This middle line thing is placed in a position that it's sort of taking away from one or the other. Well, the Prodigy line, I'm sorry, and the Prodigy line is a little more extensive at this point.
Yeah, I mean, when they brought this out, 7 years ago, I mean, it was like, wow, Crestron's got a really good digital amplifier, that you can do something with, instead of the piecemeal that that you would commonly do. Somebody else's amp, their controller. They really tried to bring in everything under one roof in a lot of their products. And as systems have progressed, I mean, the Adagio is slowly becoming more and more outdated. It didn't have a lot of the features now that we're needing in or at least being requested in the consumer market. 3D support. HDMI, all the way up to the current specs, and a lot of the things that they wanted, balanced audio inputs and outputs and so on, and so they're really decided to put something to the market that says, hey, we have a box that serves your needs.
Well, it didn't have a lot of the digital stuff, which is what it didn't have. But I've seen it in commercial, albeit small commercial. I mean, this sucker was 7 years ago. Yeah, it was mind-blowing. I still think it's still pretty cool for what it does.
Yep. I can't disagree with that. It's really cool. I'm just happy even when they were making it, and I was there at Crestron when they were making it, they have the weighted knobs that just feel so right.
You like weighted knobs.
I do like weighted knobs. I'm sorry, I'm going to have a moment. Oh, okay, thank you. But again, it is a product line competing with itself. That you've got these two sort of entry-level / mid-level lines that can expand out. They're competing with each other. And the Prodigy line appears to have a bit more legs under it for going forward.
Okay, but this is not the first product that Crestron or anybody else has had that they're competing with themselves.
True.
I mean, technically, a Prodigy controller is competing with a Pro 2. Albeit, somewhat in a different arena, but they're still both controllers. They're still both control processors.
Sure. I mean, there may be other reasons. Who knows? Maybe some part is no longer available. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I blame China. Just because I want to.
But the other thing to look at it is, when we're looking at their stuff going forward, I mean, it is an extreme price point to get into. I mean, if you want to stick in a Precise device, you're when you add a controller and you add everything in, I mean, you're looking at that range of $25,000 to $30,000. The Adagio did fit a good price point. You could get into something without breaking the bank.
Yeah.
Although we can go on and on. I mean, the ADMS that they offer for the Prodigy is far less than that and does a bit of what that does, and it's a market thing.
Yeah, and chips get smaller, chips get faster, and sometimes it makes a better thing to say, we're just going to go from your box and get rid of the old ones, because it's just the manufacturing process of retooling something just doesn't make any sense.
Right, and remember that Crestron does make everything under the watchful eye of the place in Rockland, New Jersey. I mean, it's looked at, tested, redesigned. I mean, they're hand building these things basically.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, if you ever take a trip to the campus, that manufacturing plant in the Volvo complex they're like testing almost every device coming off the line.
Wow.
So there's a real quality assurance going on in that.
Yeah, I mean, if they want it to blow up in their hands before it blows up in your hands, and sometimes the magic smoke doesn't always happen there. It happens in the field, but I mean, their quality control is so on the ball. It's just like, it reminds me of what Christie does at times.
Well, yeah, there have been very few times where I've taken a Crestron anything out of the box and it's not worked. Very, very few times. I think I can count on one hand. So I have a general Crestron question. This might not be for you guys. We might have to actually call Crestron up and ask. Ever since the release of the whole big 3G chip a year or so ago, anybody know why I've only seen one product with it come out? Or am I dreaming? Has there only been one product come out?
Well, for DM?
No, with the 3G processor, their big fancy schmancy fast new one.
I'm not precisely sure why. It's just the one processor. It just they have their reasons, and I'm not exactly sure why.
I'm just waiting for a Pro 2 to come out with that sucker on it. So, all right. I was excited about it, at least. SynodCon, which I'm sure more than one person listening to this podcast has gone to one of their training sessions. They have added the 110, Course 110 Transformer Distributed Loud System, see if I can talk today, to their online cadre of classes. Here's why I think this is cool. SynodCon, first of all, and you guys can disagree with me if you'd like, I think they're a great resource. I think their in-person training sessions are a great resource, not only for people entering the industry, but also for the old dogs that may have forgotten a thing or two. However, they're long, and you have to travel to them. And as I'm sure all three of you can attest to, getting out of the office and going to training sessions isn't exactly easy. Is it?
Very true.
Yes.
Especially in Canada.
Well, especially in Canada, because you have to go through customs. I'm a big fan of InfoComm's Online Academy. Anybody that does stuff online, I'm a big fan of, and I think this is a really cool thing. George, am I wrong?
No, I'm absolutely agree with you. My question is that InfoComm does do, though, as like a CTSI and CTSD, which do require you to go on site and do the test and do the practicals.
To do the test,
and if
not
this
to do
was at that level, well, some of it's in class training, and then you do the 2 or 3 days. I mean, and if this is at that level, then I see the reason for it. But we're talking the basics of 70-volt systems or how audio works. I want it online because test me and make sure that I can get quantifiable answers that say, yes, I actually did do this. But making me travel is just not going to work. It really isn't going to work. At minimum, give me a Skype version where you have to attend via Skype that I can say, all right, now I've done it. I can go right back to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, this is really good for when you've got, old dogs wanting to learn new tricks, but young guys coming into the industry. I mean, we have very little industry-wide accredited training that you can actually do in a school. So when we have web-based training from any manufacturer, any body of some sort, this is great because now you're getting guys somewhat trained because it's an uphill training battle. I mean, the learning curve is extremely steep, and if you don't get it day one, I mean, you're floundering.
Yeah, completely. It's again, being in Canada, we don't get the local training that any of my other, the business guys that I talk with and hang out with a lot in the States, they have local training a lot for a lot of different, things. So for me, it's almost always online. I do some stuff in class, but the majority of it's online. And any time that either I can do it or I can send one of my guys that I'm trying to train, just sit them down with a computer and say, here's what 70 volts is. Learn it. It's not that hard. And they can do it. It's great.
And the other great thing is, what's cheaper? I mean, to set a guy down in front of a computer to learn something, or send him halfway across the country, at either a manufacturer's expense or my own expense, plus downtime to learn something. Even though it's going to make him a better installer or designer or salesperson, sometimes it's better to have that individual in the office learning something on their own time, or during lunches or whenever you set it, so that they can be more productive in the office instead of sending them out.
Well, yeah, I mean, downtime still costs you money, doesn't it?
Oh, it has.
Oh, always.
Yeah. But it's a fine line, because you need someone to say, is this person really learning and really dedicating themselves to doing this, or is the employer or the manager saying, you're doing that, yeah, but I need you to do this first, come over here and do this, okay, you can go back now, wait, I need you to do something, and getting you separated from that work environment. I mean, we've all had this experience where we work from home and you go, man, I get a lot done when I'm working at home, I just pound it out and nobody's interrupting me.
Yeah.
There is a validity to that. But on an ongoing education-wise, again, my statement, if it's a really high level, yes. But if it's basics, it's not, the ROI doesn't work.
The other side to me, though, too, is as much as, when they're on site, when they're, in your office and just sitting at a computer and doing it, the other plus for me is that, if they have a question that, they're learning something and it's like, you know what, Matt doesn't do it like this. Why doesn't Matt do it this way? They can, pause whatever training they're taking and come and say, hey, how come it's saying this? And I cannot think of an example, of course. But, how come it's saying this and you do it this way, and say, well, the way we're getting there is different, or whatever. We can kind of not put our 2 cents in, but make sure that whatever they're learning is also going to gel with the way that we do things, and the way that, we install. And I'm really grasping at it.
Control system processing, control system programming would be one way. Would be one example
exactly.
of that. Because I've been told from more than one control manufacturer, because I've had discussions with these guys, because this is kind of what I do and on the side, and I'm like, am I doing this right? And the answer always is, does it work? Or the question back to me is, does it work? And I said, well, yeah, it works. Well, then you're doing it right.
Exactly.
It's painting. It is there's an art to this. And as long as it does what you want it to do, then you're doing it right. Now, they probably have a set way of showing you how to do that. And so when your employee is learning it, they may say, Matt doesn't do it this way. I wonder why. And you can say, you know what? I've been doing this for X number of years. I've just kind of I found that my way is quicker for me. Start with the way that they show you, and then you'll find, different tips and tricks and shortcuts, along the way.
Exactly. And it's one of those things. I know one thing that we have seen it with is I have a certain way that I like to rack my gear. There's just, some people do it differently. Some people stack different devices in different orders, whatever.
You don't put the amp on top, do you?
No.
Okay, good.
Never.
I knew you were going to ask that.
But I know people that do, and that's that exact thing. Is I know those guys that are like, no, you got to the amp's got to go at the top. It's like, really? Are you sure? Well, that's the way I do it. Well, that's great. But this is how we do it here. Go this way, the bottom up, blah, 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 blah. And, again, is it right or wrong?
Yes,
sure
it's wrong.
That. I know. I'm not exactly saying the whole amp on top thing. But
you'll have people rationalize that to you.
Exactly.
Yes,
and
they do.
That's the whole thing where I hate when, we send somebody off and they come back and like, you know what? I learned this in X manufacturer's training. You've been doing it wrong. It's like, yeah, okay. And where we find it really bad is I work in Canada. All our residential stuff pretty much is in Canada. We have different stipulations and different rules that, factor into the way we design systems, the way we install systems, that say you may George in New York, or you guys may down in Missouri, or wherever you're working, there are different rules. And what we see a lot of times is some of the U.S. manufacturers who are not as, big in Canada, don't do as much. They don't necessarily always understand some of the things that we have to deal with.
Well, I'll give you one, even, this is kind of you sending your kid off to school thing. It's not that they learned something different from the manufacturer, but at dinner one night, we were talking with another integrator, and they learned this great new trick that they want to try out in your area, and it is exactly up to code. So
exactly. It's like, you can't do that here. And one of the biggest things we see it with is lighting control. For most places, you can go and swap switches. A lot of my integrators who are Lutron or Crestron guys, they just have their guys go in and swap switches, and it's okay, it's legal. for us here, we can't do that. We can't even we're not supposed to take the cover off the box.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Why?
Because as soon as we expose those screws, an electrician is supposed to be on site.
Yeah, and that's a state to state thing and a province to province thing too. Because I used to work in Alberta,
completely.
and it's like, as long as it wasn't a union job, do whatever the heck you want, and as long as it meets code,
that's
you're
Adrian
okay.
Boyd.
Well, there's a lot of things, when we talk about low voltage and high voltage, and if you're working in St. Louis, this is local number 1, IBW.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do anything without their say so. And if you need a hole drilled, well, that's not an electrician's job. That's someone who does millworking or who's a laborer. So you have to understand the codes you're in, the jurisdictions you're in, and as soon as you've got that, life is easy. Yeah. And it also depends on the size of the project. Little projects, you may not have some of those headaches you have to worry about.
Oh, completely.
All right. Well. With us this week is George Tucker. He's from World Stage. Matt Scott's with us. He is our international correspondent. Not really, but it sounds cool. And
Thank you.
also
I like it.
Adrian Boyd from St. Louis.
I'm getting a badge.
You need a teletype machine in the back.
Exactly. From CNET. This is one of the kind of really stories. It says wireless execs see connected devices as the next big thing. They are talking about a couple of a group of wireless execs. One was Lori from AT&T. Another was Bill Davidson from Qualcomm. And they're like, hey, all your devices being connected is going to be what's really kind of driving stuff. I read this and I was like, okay, yeah. So this is something I read 3 years ago in the AV industry press, because we're talking about connecting my Adagio system or connecting my TV and stuff like that. George, are these guys kind of getting late to this game and saying, hey, you have to include us too, or is this something that I'm missing?
Well, I think seriously that they sort of saw the opportunity years ago, and it just wasn't enough headway to do it. And then comes out the Kindles and the iPads and all those things, and they went, see, now they're doing it. We need to get on that. I mean, wasn't that the dream of WiMAX? To have a single device that would let you, say, watch your movie on the train or bus or whatever, and the minute you got home and walked in the door, it would turn on the TV and instantly transmit that data to the TV, so you had a larger screen if you wanted. That was the dream, because the WiMAX would be both in the house and outside the house, and you could have this seamless network. I think that's what they're looking for. They also are looking a little also RANs right now, since they weren't the ones who got it to happen.
Exactly.
But it's a wide market, so they might just be able to get stuff. Although I still don't see why my refrigerator will be on wireless to tell me something. I just don't.
No, that one can be wired, because
if you remember back in 2000, 3Com came out with a little box. It was supposed to be its version. It was like the first iPad, if you could think about it, and it was supposed to be an internet connected device, and it could do all these great things. It talked to your fridge, and it talked to your pharmacy. It would do all that stuff. It's just, and they've been talking about this same type of technology for the last 10 years. And I think a lot of it has come down to we just haven't had the bandwidth really to do it.
Well, that is
kind of the wired or wirelessly.
Yeah. Is the bandwidth. There's another story we have that kind of dovetails into this about the number of wireless devices and wireless accounts. There are more wireless accounts than there are people in the U.S. And think about that for a second. I mean, yes, it's more than possible. There's 327 million wireless accounts, and if you have an iPad and an iPhone, well, there's two of them right there.
Well, how many times have you seen someone walk around with a BlackBerry and a cell phone at the same time?
Yeah, I carry 3 cell phones almost on a daily basis.
Yeah, but you don't count. You're in Canada, so.
You're crazy.
You're crazy.
It's one phone or none.
You crazy Canadians.
Well, no, it's just
the next thing you know, you're going to be putting mouse in bottles trying to get free beer. Come on.
Very nice, George.
No, he's going to tell you he's got a pager.
Yeah.
Somehow
a two-way
I
pager.
Miss the pager. Completely miss the pager.
Lucky you.
I'll catch up. I'll get one.
Yeah, and real payphones.
Yeah. All right. Has anybody ever used the Live View systems or heard of it?
Heard of it? Yes, they used them for the hurricane up here in New York. They sent those people, the reporters, everywhere, and just used the dual wireless backpack or the cellular backpack to transmit from like down on the beach, then back up to another location. They didn't even send a truck; they just had a car and they drove them out there.
What this reminds me of, and the story is that NBC is starting to use more of these. They're sending them out with the reporters that are covering all the different candidates, all the different locations. This, to me, sounds like something that has been going on for a few years. Slingbox, if any of you guys remember that, they have something where you can send video, and it started out being just your TV stuff, and you could watch it on your computer. But before LiveView, there were reporters basically using a cell phone connection, their actual cell phone, and a Slingbox in their car, and doing just this exact same thing. And now LiveView has kind of streamlined that, and they're using this to basically do what George said. You know, you're using WiMAX, you're using Wi-Fi, any kind of internet connection you can get, and it's a truck in your backpack, basically.
Yeah, Leo Laporte used something like this during his live twits during the concerts down in Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, NBC had really good success with this when they were doing the Olympics too. So I mean, I think that's kind of, they're looking at saying, this worked when we had major broadcasting, half a world away. Why can't we make this work here? And that's why you're seeing the uptick in the device. It worked well somewhere else, and they're saying, hey, we can do this cheaper, we can do this better instead of sending that microwave truck around or the satellite truck.
And the satellite truck, yeah, that's the thing, is the satellite truck is I mean, I have a few friends in broadcast, and I know exactly how much space on a satellite is to rent on a monthly basis. I mean, you could probably pay for 2 or 3 of these in 1 month's worth of rent on a bird.
Oh, easily.
Yeah, and these things don't break as often as, say a satellite truck or even, a microwave truck. If those things go down, you're looking at some downtime and, lots of angry people. One of these boxes go down, it's, well, let's just get another one, throw in the backpack and go.
Mm-hmm. Couple of what was I thinking moments here, guys. Netflix has already killed Quickster. Probably because the Twitter account was some methed out cartoon. Is my theory on that.
I don't know why they did this in the first place. When my spouse, she's in marketing, and she looked at it, she says, "Are these guys nuts?" Because they had such an established brand. You know what Netflix is. It's ubiquitous with anything streamed or in the mail. Oh, I'll just get Netflix, or I'll just do this. So why change the name where everyone's going, what the heck is that? You lost tons of market share as soon as people started doing that. And when they even changed their pricing, they were losing people left, right, and center.
Yeah, but I can understand changing pricing. I understand that costs go up and down. But you're right. Why try to diversify yourself and try to basically reinvent yourself with a whole new brand and a whole new name?
It's like the new Coke.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It reminded me. No, I was just gonna say it reminded me a lot of. I don't know if you guys remember a couple years back, Ford decided to change the name of their Taurus, which they had for something like 35, 40 years as their mainstay full-size family sedan. They tried to change it to the 500, and it lasted all of 2 years. And people wouldn't buy it because they had no idea what a 500 was. Yeah. Even though it was a Taurus, they connected with that name. And just as you said, why would you – I have no idea who the genius was behind, hey, let's change the name to something no one knows.
Reed Hastings.
We already have a brand. Yeah. I don't know him personally, so I don't want to call him, an idiot. But somebody should have been fired for that, big time.
Well, now, why did they do the separation is the first question we have to ask, and I think part of it is what they can offer in delivery in the different mediums. The streaming doesn't have all of the newest stuff, nor do they have the licensing from those movie providers to do that on the streaming. I mean, your choice of movies on the streaming version of Netflix is not the same as what you can get from the DVD and the mail stuff.
It's not.
You should see the choice of streaming in Canada.
Okay.
but they were trying to separate the two. Now, I'm in agreement with you that it was a dumb move. Ring the bell. There's one right there. But they were trying to separate, I believe, the brands and what the service offerings are, because they're not the same. You can't swap one for the other and get the exact same stuff. You just can't.
Okay, so here's a crazy
I
thing.
think that's what they were trying to do.
All right, but here's a crazy idea. So leave it alone. Okay, increase the price. Again, I get it. Cost increased. The price of bandwidth increased. I get that whole thing. So keep them. Their interface and the way that they presented their product to their customer and the customer experience was the same. When I went on, I had an only streaming account. I still have an only streaming account because I have a 3 and a 5-year-old, and I don't need somebody else's DVDs for them to play with frisbees. But when I logged on, I understood with the movies that I'm looking at. I'm only being given the ones that are streaming. When somebody else had a dual account, let's say, well, they were given a different set of a different library to look at. What I guess is why fix what's not broken? Because they weren't losing market share.
No, I suppose not. But I think there was a confusion where you read some of the forums where people were very upset that they couldn't get the newest run movie on their streaming because all I do is streaming. And again, there's arguments both sides. My preference would have been, yes, change the name, do it over 6 months to 12 months. Netflix streaming will become Quickster because of the following. And you brand that and do the bumpers and you do all the things you need to do on the streaming version to get that name acquaintance and the connection. And then you transition it and no one's shocked.
Okay,
and
but
6 months down the line, after everyone's exhausted themselves with yelling about it, they go, okay.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and this is more from a business standpoint. Why would I spend the money to do that? Because that's going to cost an awful lot of energy and an awful lot of money to rebrand myself. When again, I get some people who didn't quite understand were upset, but the people who got it, that would be me, understood. You know what? I get. I understand there were limitations. I'm not going to go out and I'm not going to rent Thor, or I'm not going to stream Thor, or another summer blockbuster. I'll have to wait until it's in December or January. That's fine. I get that. So
I think it comes down to yes, it would have cost them a lot of money to do it, but proper business sense would have promoted that. And I think one of the issues Netflix has kind of had is they're kind of they are a proper business. I don't want to say they're not a proper business, but they're a proper business that's, a tech business. And some of the cutting edge tech companies always seem to think that they're Facebook and they can just do whatever they want because they're, the fancy new tech business and we don't have to play by the same rules. But as George said, if they had rolled this out over 6 months, by the time it actually hit, nobody would have cared. It just would have happened and everyone would have been like, oh, so have you got your Quickster yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And we have no idea what their plans are to expand that separate service. There may have been some business plan to say, then we'll add this part that we can't possibly even match on the hard disk side. I mean, look, you still have people who don't understand when they do an off-air HD antenna that they don't get their cable channels. So,
Stop making fun of my father like that.
Right now, it's when we look at media as a whole, it's really struggling. You've got the Hollywood studios going, okay, what do you mean you want to get this now? I mean, it just kind of pigeonhole into this. It was Universal just backed down from a major. They were going to offer one of their, blockbuster releases as a same-day, viewing as the theaters for like $60 on DirecTV or Dish, and they just backed down from that because a whole bunch of their theater operators said, no, you can't do this to us. So we've got companies like Netflix, we've got companies like Hulu and Roku and all of these. How can I get my content? I want my content now. We're getting it on different devices and all over the place. And the content producers are struggling. Well, how do we make this work? How do we make it as a revenue generator for us? Because it's all about revenue.
Yeah.
How are we going to make money? I mean, Hulu just said, we're not selling to anybody. They just backed down after they had, Google and Netflix and Yahoo and, all these people saying, hey, you want to sell? And they just said, no, we're not going to. I mean, that just happened within the last couple of days. So, Netflix was looking at how are we going to make money off of doing this streaming, because the Hollywood studios are beginning to push back on how we can get content. If you remember a few years back, they had an enormous pushback from Warner Brothers saying, well, you're not going to get your DVDs right away because It's getting into our video on demand market. It's getting into our other places, and it's our general sales from Best Buy or who's ever selling DVDs. It's the struggle that this industry has right now with getting content to where people want it, and they want it now. We're kind of been spoiled.
Well, and I don't think we're spoiled. I think this is kind of where we're going, and there's something in dealing with media and media theory that's called functional displacement, and the nut version of that is as technology moves forward, something comes along to replace something else, and the internet in and of itself is replacing an awful lot of things, and the way an awful lot of things work, including how we get our content, when we get our content, and where we get our content. And the faster that the media companies understand that, grasp a hold of it, and can figure out a way to make money, I think they're going to make the end user very happy. I don't know that it's going to be in our lifetime, but probably our kids and our grandkids. Eventually, when it comes to our kids and our grandkids, they will be able to watch Spider-Man 15 on their iPhone the day it comes out. They have to.
Yeah, and as soon as they find a way to monetize that properly that all parties are happy with, it'll be there.
Yes.
And we'll be there.
Okay, so 10 years ago, Napster was a huge thing. The reason Napster was a huge thing was because I can get my entire library and share my friend's library. I can get all of my music on my computer. It wasn't huge because it was illegal. It was huge just because it's what I wanted. When iTunes came out, I more than happily paid for the music that I was downloading. But it was the fact that I wanted it in a computer format, not on a CD somewhere.
Exactly. It's
Yeah, we've had this discussion before. It's choice of content over.
Sorry.
Deep breaths in with the bad.
George, talk to me about sending my own satellite up in space.
I love this article. Just because
I know you do. That's why I'm having you do it.
It's like I can't think of a really good reason why I would do this, but I want to do it. Right? I mean, I'd love to be able to transmit something, or be able to just have my Sputnik moment, going, "Hey, my satellite's going over. That's cool. It's my little piece of the sky." Why name a
and
star
then it comes
after
crashing
somebody
to the
yourself
earth
when you can?
Go ahead.
Well, it's very small though. It's wafer thin, dude. It's not going to be a problem.
All right.
But think about this though. You've got all those Rocketeers out in when you watch the Discovery Channel, the guys who do these huge rockets that are almost getting orbit.
Yeah.
This is really cool. You could with this, you can send in your own. You can do your own weather satellite. How about that? Well, localized weather, really localized weather.
There you go, Matt.
And there's ways of using it. Maybe there's even options for very private in-house networks. I mean, look, the first real communication satellite was a big balloon they launched into space to bounce radio waves off of, right?
Yep.
You could have something of that nature. The hacker in me likes this, going, you can't control the airwaves. I just sent my own satellite up, and I'm calling point to point to whoever else I have that can do that. I don't know.
Until it goes out of orbit and you can't see it. I mean, this is great. I mean,
yeah, but it's $1.50, so you send another one up.
Yeah, I mean, you look at. I mean, you can get kids more interested in. Hey, look, now you can do something interesting. We can build this in a science class. We partner with a hobby Rocketeer group, and we send these things up. And now, look, kids, we can go send messages just to another part of the class or another part of the world, and we're doing all this wirelessly, and we're making these little things ourselves. This is cool. I mean, the hobbyist market has exploded in the last couple of years of these neat little projects.
Oh yeah, I think it's great just to see people continue to challenge what they can do and just expand stuff. I just think it's cool. I probably won't be with George sending up my own little satellite though.
That's what we should do. Instead of using Skype for this show, we should just all send up our own $1.50 satellites.
Yeah, George, if you could make me one, that would be great.
Meanwhile, we have a little knock at our door with a couple of agents dressed in black.
I'm in Canada. They'd be wearing red.
Oh, gee. And a big brimmed hat and on a mounted on a horse.
With a lance.
With Nell on their back.
Oh, man.
And if you get that one, I'll be impressed. All right. Help me. All right. We have a new market for Matt since he's the only integrator here.
Yes.
It is the old people market. I say that lovingly.
You do.
It's
careful where you point that comment, huh?
Well, you know, we're what am I saying? We're all old guys. What it is
yourself, gentlemen.
Exactly.
You know what?
Sorry.
You got the Nell joke, so you're old.
I know. I'm done.
This is the one of the newest AV markets. It's retrofitting elderly people, seniors' homes. Not for nothing, but you know what? There's been more than one article written about the graying of America, and you have people who are technically seniors now, people who came out of the '60s, for crying out loud, are retiring, and they're not young. They're not old in their mind. They're retiring, but they're still as young and vibrant. There are some limitations that they have, and so, hey guys, here's an opportunity for you to go in and put some automation systems in for them to make their lives a little easier. Is this something interesting, Matt, or am I?
No. It's definitely something interesting. It's honestly something that we've been slowly getting into over the last year or so, and have yet to fully develop like a true marketing plan for it. But it's something that we're working on. We've seen some great experience with it in the lighting control realm, because we can go into a senior's home, or sorry, that's not a senior's home, but a older person who's still living at home. We can go into their house and install some lighting control that's going to make their life easier and safer. You know, it's one of those things where the great lead-in for us is that we can pop in, and put in, some hallway stuff, some bathroom stuff. So when they get up in the middle of the night, they have an easy view, to their bathroom or wherever they're going, whatever they're doing. And again, it's one of those things that a couple of years ago, no one thought that this was an actual market that you could capitalize on. And a lot of these boomers and whatnot, they have some disposable income. So it's a very good market. And now that they're home, like I know we have one client, he's 80-something, and we put in a real nice little home theater system for him in his family room, because all he does now is watch TV. He goes out and does his little chores and, other things he does. But the big part of his life is that he loves watching History Channel. So we gave him a beautiful little system that allows him to do that. And again, this is a market that, as I said, 3-4 years ago, we never even considered, we never even thought of. We, usually stopped trying to sell to people that were, 65 plus, because they weren't doing it. And now, as they're all retiring and hitting that age, this is stuff that they like. This is stuff that they do a lot of. And, when we look at the lighting control aspect of it, it's stuff that makes their life safer.
Well, there is that too. I mean, and these guys, like I said earlier, these guys are retiring, still vibrant, and this is not a bad thing, Matt. They still have money to spend, unlike
exactly.
the 20s and 30s.
Yes, yeah, and it is a very valid point. They do have, and again, not everybody who's a senior has a boatload of money, and not everyone who's a senior is going to spend a boatload of money. But there is a very large portion, a very large population that has money to spend, that it's sitting in a bank, and you know what? They're getting to that point where, hey, I'd much rather, know that if I fall asleep watching Judge Judy, at night before I go to bed and I wake up at 2 a.m, that my lights are still going to be on and, dim, but enough that I'm not going to fall down the stairs as I head to the bedroom.
Yeah. It's
those kind of applications which, when we sell them like that and when we market them like that, they become a very, nothing's an easy sell, but they become a very effective and, just a new market for a lot of integrators.
Becomes an easier sell. How about that?
It is. It's definitely an easier sell.
And what's interesting is when we're talking about, people who are aging, we look at new technology, a lot of it is they just don't get it. And there are some that do, and there are some that don't, and they kind of need that assistance. I don't know if you guys have seen the webcam video of the elderly couple trying to figure out how to turn the webcam on, and meanwhile it's recording them.
Yeah,
exactly. And again, that's a lot of the, especially the 20 to 30-year-olds. Most of them are, or a lot of them are DIY guys. They don't mind talking to us, but a lot of it they want to do themselves. And when you do hit this senior market, they don't want to do anything. They just want to pick up a remote, hit watch TV, and have the lights come down or whatever's going on, have the TV turn on, have the screen come down, and allow them to do whatever they want to do.
They just want it to work.
Yeah, they just want it to work. They don't care what you put in. They don't care. They don't care about the specs. They just want it to work, and they have the money to do that. So it's a great market, and I think it's kind of underserved at this point.
You're listening to AV. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Nice. CE Pro has
cut
been
the heck out of this show, so don't sweat it.
All right. We're gonna increase your editing skills. That's what we're gonna do. You're gonna be a really talented editor. CE Pro has been talking about this for a while, off and on. But the one thing I was thinking about a year or so ago when I started seeing some of the rumblings of the senior market is that this could very well be the holy grail in mass market acceptance we've been all looking for. Because once the seniors want to do it, and they are that mass baby boomer generation that has a lot of potentially wealthy or of income people, then their siblings or their younger set and children will want to have it as well once they see it at mom and dad's. It could very well be the holy grail.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those markets where, because a lot of the boomers who are more from a professional background, they're all used to things just working. They're not like even my dad. My dad used to be a lawyer, was a very good lawyer, but he always had secretaries. So he doesn't know how to go into a bank and talk to somebody behind a counter because he's never done that. He's always sent someone in or had the bank manager come to him. So he's exactly that type of market who all they want is they don't care what it is. They just want it to work with as little involvement from them as possible. Yeah. And that's where, again, you can sell automation, you can sell lighting control, you can sell whole home systems because that's what they want.
And the simpler you make it, the easier it is.
Oh, definitely. But that's what we want to do. That's, as an integrator, that is my number one goal, is I want to essentially install the most complicated system that is the easiest to use. I want to install something that allows them to do whatever they want to do. It doesn't matter. We can do it, but you'll be able to do it from just one button or two buttons or, whatever it is. If you even have to push something.
Yeah. All right, you're listening to AV Week. With us this week is Adrian Boyd. He is from Vector Sketch here in St. Louis. Matt Scott's with us. He is our international guy up there in London, Ontario. And, of course, George Tucker from Long Island, New York. This is from the Pittsburgh. Was that a bad New York accent?
No, it was okay.
Is that what you're saying?
It was all right.
George?
It sounded just like it, although I'm actually in Long Island City, Queens. But that's, what's the difference?
You're from New York. I'm from St. Louis.
Don't say that in New York.
Yeah, exactly. Don't say that in New York.
Actually,
there's people who argue the point that if you're not from Manhattan, you're not from New York. All right, so
this is a stupid story. But when I first started in radio, I had the chance to interview for WINS in Astoria, New York, and yeah, I had no idea where the heck Astoria, New York was. And when I looked, I'm like, well, why the frick don't you just say New York? So anyhow,
no, it's Astoria.
It's Astoria.
Astoria.
Wins. 10-10 wins, actually. This is from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. This is a very cool story. What it is a gentleman who had a motorcycle accident a few years ago. He's a paraplegic. Between the University of Pittsburgh researchers and he were working together. He has an artificial arm that he controls with his brain. Some of you may be wondering why we're talking about this on an AV show. My initial jump, and you guys can tell me I'm crazy, that's a really cool Crestron controller. I mean, yeah, I'm happy for him, but that's a really cool Crestron controller.
Wow. You be the first one to line up to get the plug in the head?
Yeah, sure, why not? Johnny Mnemonic.
Well, if you've read the article, they did have to go put electrodes in his brain. It has to touch his little crinkles. that is a step towards doing some of that stuff, definitely. Although I have to say, one of the first thoughts I had about with that is now he can drink his beer on his own.
Jeez.
Oh.
Goodness.
But I mean,
Well, I had other thoughts, but they're not family friendly.
Thanks for the family one.
Thank you for that. This does have a clean rating on it.
Oh my.
Again,
Yes.
You know, it's like anything else where every advancement they make in any of these realms just opens more of the world to what we can do down the road. You know.
No.
Well, this dovetails into that the other article, the E-Times article about the little sensor that Plessey Semiconductors is making.
Yes.
That you have near field control with these little tags. They're
Well,
really
and that's
cool.
kind of the micros, the 360.
Connect.
Thank you. Connect.
No problem.
Controller that you can see all over YouTube. You know, where you've got the gestures and everything. So.
Well, but this one's more of an electronic, though. It's an actual sort of RFID kind of concept where, as you move through the environment, this little device, as applied directly to a piece of clothing or directly to your own skin, will allow you to control certain things. And I believe it has a very good tie-in to, say, the one we just talked about with the mechanical arm in the brain. You start to connect those two. I mean, aren't those games as well that they sell, like in the really esoteric kids toys magazines, where you put the little helmet on your head and control the floating ball?
Oh yeah.
With how you
Yeah.
concentrate. I mean, you know, how far away are we really from, you know, not having to worry about gestures, but just squinting my eye or thinking about it, and the door opens?
I think we're getting closer and closer. I mean, this is what we're seeing now is really the closer merging of technology with who we are as individuals. You know, it's getting closer all the time. You know, you're seeing guys put webcams in their head because they can. You know, or they're hooking
Oh, I
themselves
saw
up.
that. There was that artist.
Yeah, he lost an eye. He put a webcam, you know, in his eye socket, and he was recording stuff. You're now allowing people who are blind being able to see. You know, just recently was the woman who was deaf who just had, you know, she had a new implant put in, heard her voice for the first time. You know, technology and AV, we've been talking about the merging. It's getting closer and closer and closer, and we're, you know, people's lives are changing. You know, it's the funny thing is I used to have an employer who says we're not saving lives here, but we are now starting to. We're changing people's lives with how technology is interacting with them.
My God, we're Cylons. Oh, I want. Never mind. I was going to go down a not so family friendly path too, with number 6. All right. Is your ISP doing one of these 5 evil things? I know that
Yes.
mine is. In St. Louis, you have 2 choices, maybe 3. One is AT&T, one is Charter, and the other one might be a mom and pop.
CenturyTel.
Who?
CenturyTel is probably the third choice, depending on where you are in the St. Louis.
Depending on where you are, yeah. George, you have who? Comcast and probably Time Warner?
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah. And Matt, you don't
Cablevision
have any.
as well.
Cablevision. Matt doesn't have any because he's in Canada.
Wow. No,
Oh,
we actually,
Canada.
that's rough. No. Well, you know, I had to wind up the monkey and get him on the wheel to get my net to work. So, thank you. You know, just continue to.
That's the tin flapping sound I hear.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. That's what it is. It's his feet, just running, just running like a beast. But yeah, thanks for encouraging the stigma.
What? Who do you have?
We have Rogers cable. We have Bell phone, and we have a couple of, again, just smaller resellers. But those are the 2 big ones, and they're doing pretty much all 5 of these. It's
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. One is, I think that most people are doing this. It's the improper next domain handling. Basically, if you go to a wrong address, they'll send you to, you know, an ad holder.
Check.
Yeah, well, where they're selling ads and making money.
Oh, yeah. Check.
Yeah.
Got that one.
That's the clickstream checking
But, you know, you can get rid of this by changing your DNS server.
Yes, you can.
in your router.
Yeah, I mean, I use OpenDNS because I got sick and tired of Charter doing a redirect on me all the time. And even though you can opt out, it doesn't always take. So you can change your DNS settings to like OpenDNS, which gives you far more control over how you're handling some of your network traffic, how you're doing sites. What's great about it is I've got little kids, and I can block off things that I don't want them seeing.
Excellent.
Yep.
Yeah, we use, I use a lot of the Google, which some people may view as the next just evil, but I use a lot of the Google servers to do that same thing, get around everything, because here they try and lock you down very, very well.
Another one is ad swapping. I don't know what this is. Do you guys? I mean, I know what it sounds like, but I don't know technically what it is.
I don't think I've run across it, but I mean, nothing's to put it past them.
And of course, we have this because of the Patriot Act, the rolling over your information to governments and content creators. So,
yeah, and that's one of the really big things here, is that supposedly they're giving all of our information to anybody who asks for it.
Yeah,
which is wonderful.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Although there's one on here that they don't mention, and the Canada guys, Matt.
Yeah.
Wasn't Rogers also called out for throttling back extensively the bandwidth, especially on gamers and stuff?
Yeah, if you were a heavy user, they've been throttling really bad. I know personally, I believe I pay for, I either have 10 or 16 down and 4 up, and I get a average of maybe 4 down and 1.5 up. And every time I raise it with them, it's network conditions, blah, 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 blah. And, I like probably most of you guys, I work all day long and all night long half the time. And there's no difference for me as a heavy user. I'm a big Netflix guy. I'm a big streaming, web, everything, live my life online kind of guy. And, they throttle pretty bad.
Which would be on an evil point score of about at least 5.5 out of 6. It's just,
for me, it's huge. Yeah, I can't stand the fact. And, the downside here is we're much more regulated and much more stringent with all of our information here that say, you guys are down in the south. We really don't have any options. Not that, listening to you guys having 2 or 3, but I pay probably double what any of you guys pay for the same amount of space. I think when they were doing a bunch of government stuff on it this year, there was a bunch of protests and whatnot, and I believe that we're paying on average something like $30 a gigabyte for something that's costing Rogers something like 3.5-4 cents a gigabyte.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But again, we have no one else to go to.
Well, let me ask you guys this, because if there's an end user out there that doesn't know how to do this, you're saying that you're getting so many up and so many down. If I'm paying for a package, how the heck do I know that what I'm getting?
You can do like a speed test, and that usually give you a pretty good idea. I ran into this. We were paying for, bandwidth we weren't getting. We couldn't figure out why we weren't getting the bandwidth. We had, Charter come out and check everything out. They even went to the main box and they said they had fiber. And I go, why don't I have fiber to my house? And that was another story. But after we started testing everything in the system, we found out that my internal, my switch router just couldn't handle the bandwidth, and there were no firmware updates for it. So I basically had to replace all my infrastructure, to get the bandwidth I was paying for.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting the bandwidth, but it could be, a lot of these situations, if you're doing a little bit more than just, your cable modem in one computer or a cable modem in a WAP in your house, you may not have the infrastructure to support a lot of the bandwidth that you're paying for.
So it would be a good idea to go online and do a speed test.
And do a speed test. And then if you're not getting it, start escalating.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're paying for it.
Oh, yeah, completely. It's one of those things where, unfortunately, most users have no idea, A, what they're paying for, and B, what they should be getting.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon at all for us to go into, customers' homes and try to hook up to something and go, wow, is your Wi-Fi or your bandwidth or whatever, is your net always this slow? Yeah, this is normal. I'm like, can I see one of your bills and those sorts of bills? I'm like, wow, you should be much faster than this. And a lot of times, especially here, we'll find out that it's due to the supplier's modem. Whatever they've given us is something that A, has been throttled, B, is usually not adjustable. We can't get in there and do anything to it. But C, that a lot of it is just very, very old gear, stuff that's not capable of running, the speeds that a lot of people are paying for and thinking that they're getting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're paying for your own hardware, which a lot of the ISPs do. You rent your modem from them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Never rent. Go buy your own. Because number one, you can pick what you want, and you may get a little more power than what they're giving you.
Yeah, and then also the router that you're picking, make sure you pick a good one. So, all right, guys. Anybody else have anything?
The only thing that I was a little surprised that didn't bring up to cover was RIM's kind of crash and burn this week with their email and messaging service.
Who?
Did this not affect RIM, BlackBerry? Did this not affect
Research in Motion?
I'm sorry. What is this BlackBerry you talk of?
Well, no,
It's a Canadian thing.
Jeez.
does nobody use it down there? Is Obama the only guy in the States that uses a BlackBerry?
No, I mean Blackberries are huge for businesses. They still are.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a pretty significant. Although you know what, and here's the thing: in the AV industry, I hardly ever run into a BlackBerry unless it is at a corporate level. Unless it is a big. I mean, it's not. We don't have AVI SPL here, but it's a. Unless it's a large AV house, they don't use BlackBerries. They use some sort of either iPhone or some other Android device.
Yeah, we've made the transition. It used to be everybody had a BlackBerry. Now it's your personal phone, and you go.
Yeah, it's much easier to take care of because BlackBerry sometimes is a nightmare to go and set up and configure on a large network. Although they've made it easier, from what I understand.
Well, somewhat easier.
Yeah, I think you're right, though. I mean, NPR had something on it saying, National Public Radio here said something about it may very well be the death knell of RIM, who's been on life support for a little while.
Yes, because their playbook wasn't.
No, they're. But
you can survive a bad product. You can't survive a network outage.
And what was interesting about this network outage, it started, in Asia, and then it kind of cycled into Europe, and then it hit North America, and it was, we had a faulty switch. That's a pretty big faulty switch.
It sounds like SARS.
Exactly my thought. Nicely done. Exactly how I was thinking.
Yeah, it's something that, I know I've been pretty active and vocal on this week locally, mainly because RIM's headquarters, Research in Motion, their headquarters, an hour east down the highway from us, and it's been a really, really big issue locally here.
That explains it. They're Canadian.
Well, they are Canadian, and not that I care. Granted, I have one of each. I have an iPhone and I have a BlackBerry, but it's something that was just surprising to me that I didn't see it as much as I expected to on the AV tweet stuff on Twitter with all the people that we follow. I was just a little surprised at how little it seemed to affect people, whereas from the business side, it was people were going crazy.
But see, I think that right there, and it's unfortunate for RIM because the BlackBerry was the first big smartphone for businesses. I think that right there is the blood in the water, as it were.
It is. It's a huge, for them to have a switch go down and not, have this outage, that was bad to begin with. They did not need it. Their stock price is being hammered. Everything's being hammered. But to do it the same, to have it happen the same week that Apple brings out a new iOS, the same week that Apple brings out a new phone, and you have people lining up for a phone again.
Not only that, but you've got Google and Samsung releasing a product that has ice cream sandwich on it.
Exactly.
That's why I like Android, because the OSs are related to sweets. Okay.
Yeah, I can't knock it. Honeycomb, ice cream, it's good
popcorn.
Stuff.
Frozen yogurt, Froyo.
See, now I'm just getting hungry.
Exactly.
And I had lunch it. But, it's been very surprising, very interesting to watch. And, as someone who knows that they employ a boatload of people down the road, and to also know that, the majority of my customers all carry some form of RIM stock in whatever retirement fund it is. It's an interesting time to be RIM and to be around RIM.
Yeah.
But that's all I had on.
All right. Well, good. That was good.
I do have one last one, I suppose.
Yes.
A moment of silence for Mr. Dennis Ritchie. If any of you heard, one of the developers of C programming and Unix co-creator died this week.
Oh.
Yeah.
We can overuse the statement that a certain individual created the world we live in, but truly he created the framework or the structures
The skeleton.
which we built everything else on. Yeah.
I mean, those guys who worked in Bell Labs at that time, I mean, geniuses. What they've developed, what our world runs on. I mean, it's just crazy stuff. I mean, if you look at what we're doing with Crestron, AMX, all that stuff had a genesis out of the work that he created and did.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely did. Absolutely did.
So, moment of silence.
Silence. Well, I wanted to make sure this moment was long enough. So, you know what? This has been the most interesting and fun.
I'm never getting invited back. I know it. It's the end of match.
It's my first and last time, yeah.
Although, I do have a title.
Yes.
Oh, Canada.
Oh, Canada.
Oh, Canada. All right.
Or perfectly good. Oh, Canada.
I thought it was, now I can talk.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm down with you, Canada. We can get down.
All right. That is Matt Scott. He is our Canadian international
Can I ask one
course.
question?
Yes.
Sorry,
Please.
not to jump the gun. So are either of you guys doing anything for AVWeek?
I'm doing this show.
George, are you guys doing anything?
Not this year, no.
Not this year. Same with you, Adrian?
Probably not. If I can partner with somebody, a school or something, then maybe we'll do something. It always comes up and it's just like, oh, it's AV Week already? Where did the time go?
Yeah, I know. I remembered seeing it and going, I really should try and organize something. And
Well, for us, it's our busy season. I mean, this is really in the staging and event world, as you know, Matt.
It's crazy
now
time.
everything's going on. There's just we'd love to invite the young kids or the college grads or the engineers in, but it's like, see this? Yeah, well, it's going out. See these guys? Oh, you can't talk to them.
Those guys are busy. No.
Well, that's the thing is the people that have time to do this are some of the educational places, and that's where my full-time job is, education. I don't have the time next week. And manufacturers, because not for nothing, but integrators, you guys are out making money. That's kind of what you do.
Yeah, resources and time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those things we looked at it, and tried to get a feel for if there was something we could do, how we could approach it. And again, we're a smaller company, and looked at it and said, I'd love to bring some students out. I'd love to, do anything like that, and just couldn't get anything organized in time. But one thing that I think we're going to try and do is do some radio stuff with a couple friends of mine that do AM shows and whatnot, and just try and get some information out that way.
Very cool.
On it. But it is, as a smaller company, listening to I guess at the top of the show talk about it, it's something that again, as a smaller company, I'd really love to do more, but it's hard when you're a smaller company.
No, it is.
So that's when we love to see the big guys like Crestron and whatnot stepping up and doing more to help promote our industry. Be an AV ambassador.
Help. Well, cool.
There we go.
This has been fun, guys. Thank you very much. Seriously, this has
you.
probably been one of the more not that the rest of them haven't been fun, because they have been, but this irreverent and fun. Our Canadian guy over there is Matt Scott. He's from Omega Audio Video. Matt, what do you want to plug? By the way, congratulations. I meant to say that at the top of the show. Congratulations. You are a part of Gary Kay's blog squad now.
I am. Have you read my posts?
I read your acceptance speech, yes.
My acceptance speech? I almost didn't write that.
Why? It was perfect.
Well, no, I know, but I almost didn't. I was like, man, this makes me look like a little girl. Makes me feel like I was jumping up and down.
No, your hair makes you look like a little girl.
I sat down.
That's cold.
It is cold.
burn.
I'm never coming to St. Louis and talking to you. Fine, go Texas.
You'll have a hard time finding a flight, so.
Yeah,
Did you say go Texas?
Yeah, I did.
You are such
Yeah.
a Canadian.
The Yankees are gone.
No, St. Louis is in the National League. They're playing the Brewers.
Hey, yeah, I know, but I'm really hoping y'all beat Milwaukee.
Oh, okay.
And then you can go to the big show, and Texas hopefully can take care of business. But no, what I was going to say was I didn't want to write. I wrote it, looked at it, and went, I shouldn't post this. I look like a little girl. And then I went, this is exactly how I feel, though. And this is one of those things where AV to me is such an important part of my life that being asked to do this was like a huge honor. Mm-hmm. I'm not one of those guys who most likely will ever, get a CD award or get an InfoComm award or anything like that. We're not at that level. Not saying that we're not good. We're just, I can't compete with the guys doing the huge, home theaters for $7 million.
Yeah.
That ain't not my market. Wish it was, but it ain't. And I wrote it and forget it. We're just going to post it. This is how I feel. And if you saw the last one that we just posted on, it was talking about the AV ambassadors, which kind of goes into the AV week and all that other stuff and the stuff Dawn wrote. And yeah, I enjoyed it. But thank you for the honor.
No, it was really cool, and yeah, he's on the Rave Blog Squad. Eventually, I'm going to have to start paying Gary K because George Tucker is also on the Rave Blog Squad. By the way, Matt, you can see Matt on Twitter a lot, as well as the Blog Squad. Which Twitter handle would you like to promote, sir?
Well, why don't we just promote all three? Because I can.
Okay.
We're at Omega Audio Video. We're at Matt D. Scott, and we're at Matt Scott's Hair.
Yay! I gave your hair, by the way, clout the other day. So
I saw that. I need to. I don't think I actually. Am I on clout yet? Is my hair on clout?
I thought you were. I don't know.
I might be.
If you don't know what clout is, it's a Twitter, Facebook thingy. KLOUT.com. It's such a fun thing to do. George Tucker, he's in New York. I'm not gonna argue about where in New York. He's just in New York. He's a engineering coordinator for World Stage. Like I mentioned before, he's a part of Gary K's Rave Blog Squad. You can see him on Twitter at Tucker2s. You have anything to pimp out there, Mr. Tucker?
Not as of yet, but if you're, if you're interested, World Stage has a brand new website. It's pretty. Go check it out.
Okay. What is it?
WorldStage.com.
Thank you.
I know you needed a decoder ring to find that, but
no, I just some people have weird spellings, Some not everybody is .com.
Oh, that is pretty.
So
It is pretty.
Adrian Boyd is never coming back here again. Adrian,
I'd like to, but hey.
next time come prepared with better jokes, all right?
Yeah,
Okay.
He's from
I'll
Vector
bring my
Sketch.
Canadian joke repertoire just in case.
It's a
Trust me,
pamphlet.
they don't go over well. They don't go over well.
Just get some Timbits, get some moose, some double doubles. You'll be good.
Oh my! He's from Vector Sketch. His Twitter handle is _AV_CAD_guy. Anything you want to promote there, Mr. Boyd?
We are at vectorsketch.com, and we're, if you're familiar with independent programmers, we do the same thing, only engineering and CAD for AV integrators and consultants. And if anyone has CAD questions, I am all willing to answer. If I don't know the answer, I'll find it for you.
Excellent. That's very helpful. I'm Tim Albright. You can reach me wherever the frick you can find me. My Twitter, I guess, is TD Albright. More importantly, though, please go to the website and check us out. Let us know what you think. More than open to questions, comments, suggestions on way to make this thing a little better. Probably is the number one is getting me off of it. But avnation.tv is the website. So go there, leave us comments, let us know what you think. In the next couple of months, we're going to have some more specials and some other things coming out. One of them is with Mr. Tucker, but some other stuff, some other cool stuff coming down the line. So thanks for listening, and that's all the time we have for also, thanks to Cheryl Regan from the InfoComm group for talking to us about AVWeek. So that's all the time we have for AV Week.